Good evening. Hello. Hi there. Let's begin the evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Mayoralty Candidate Forum for the Municipality of the District of Lunenburg. I'm Ray Bonneville. I'm the president of the Bridgewater and Area Chamber of Commerce, and we're really pleased to have such a full room tonight. I'd like to thank the Dayspring Fire Hall for hosting us. Very good location, right? And I'd also like to thank Patrick Hurdle, who's here from the town of Bridgewater. He's recording the event tonight, and it will be available. It's not live. It will be available on the Bridgewater and Area Chamber of Commerce Facebook page. So watch for that. I'd like to begin by introducing our current mayor, Carolyn Boulevard-Getson. Carolyn has been serving the municipality of the District of Lunenburg as mayor from 2016 to the present. And joining us tonight, we also have Elspeth McLean-Weil, who is also running for the office of mayor. Elspeth is an active volunteer in the community and is perhaps best known as the owner-operator of Wiles Lake Farm Market for the past 38 years. Tonight's forum is a wonderful opportunity for all of us to engage in meaningful discussions about the future of our community. We look forward to hearing from both Carolyn and Elspeth as they share their perspectives and ideas. Let's ensure we maintain a respectful and open dialogue as we work together to shape the future of the municipality of the District of Lunenburg. And now I'd like to introduce our moderator for the evening, Sheldon MacLeod.
Thank you, and it's my pleasure to be here. I was very happy when they asked if I was able to do this tonight, so very happy to watch the microphone fall down. Thank you again, and I really do value this type of forum. This is like no other level of democracy. You have an opportunity here to hear from two of the candidates who want to be the mayor of the municipality of the District of Lunenburg for the next 4 years. Just for a show of hands, how many people voted in the last election? Okay. How many people, this is their first election? We have a few here. How many of you voted already? It's a trick question. Oh, no, Carolyn. Just so you know that electronic voting had produced about 71% of the vote through the phone and online in the 2020 election. 43% voter turnout. That's not great. Your job after this is to get as many people to participate in the democratic process. It is closest to all of us, which is municipal governance. So we're going to treat this kind of like a football game to start off. What I mean by that is no contact first. This is a coin flip, so we're going to decide who it is who will start. And because this is like a football game, we'll have the challenger call the coin in the air. It's tails. So, Carolyn, you have a choice to either punt or receive. You can either start or finish. Whoever gives the opening statement will be the one. So this means, Elspeth, you will start off our event tonight, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll finish with the closing.
Yeah.
I want to be last.
That's exactly what's going to happen. Absolutely.
Just so we got it clear.
Okay. Just hope everyone can hear me. I think there's a wave back there. Thank you to the Bridgewater and Area Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring tonight's event. Tonight you will hear from myself and the current mayor. We will share our thoughts about issues facing our municipality. What I think is even more important than the responses we give to the questions that the Chamber has posed is consideration about our leadership styles and our skills. Tonight you need to consider my leadership capacity, both my style and my strengths to serve as a mayor that will represent your interests, concerns, and our community. Someone asked me what I would do in my first week as mayor. For me, the answer was really simple. I'd meet with the councillors to hear about their priorities. Secondly, I'd meet with the key department managers at Modal to learn of their work plans, their priorities, and what was keeping them up at night. I believe my work as leader of this municipality is to take what I hear and build out a plan with councillors and staff that reflects what I heard when I hit 2750 today, 2,750 doors, and what we can agree to as priorities as a group, recognizing that there are projects underway and monies committed. That work sets out what needs to be done, but how will it be done? Speaks to the leadership style and strategy that the mayor will use to get the work done and the way I will approach it. First, I believe you have to establish a good working relationship within the council. A working relationship that encourages open discussion. Councillors need to feel respected and included in all aspects of the decision-making process. There needs to be a level of trust between all of us that as mayor, I will support candidates, and in their work, they will support me. Good leaders build good teams, and they are accountable to the community they serve. I think this has been missing under our current leadership. We need to be reporting back to community on a regular basis, and that's key to grounding the decision-making of council with the people who selected us. Many people talk to me about not understanding what was going on in council and why certain decisions were made. So there is a disconnect. Good leaders have an ability to bring people along with them toward a common goal or purpose. Good leadership is about collaboration and cooperation. Good leaders show integrity, honesty, openness, and are willing to challenge the status quo. I believe I've demonstrated these qualities in my business life and in my volunteer work. And I look forward to your questions and the discussion on issues and your assessment of the leadership needs of our community at this time.
We'll get Carolyn over. And again, it is a 3-minute open, and there is our official timekeeper keeping track. So when you see that green card go up, it says 30 seconds remaining. So that's what that's about.
Members of the Bridgewater and Area Chamber of Commerce, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a privilege to stand before my family, friends, campaign team, and the residents of the municipality. In my home municipality, a place I am truly proud to call home my entire life. A place where I continue to live and be actively involved in our community. I entered political life in 1997 as an opportunity to serve and support this beautiful area we all call home. It has been an honor to serve as your mayor, and I look forward to continuing to serve as your mayor. I bring with me years of experience in both provincial and municipal politics, leadership skills and team building, a positive attitude and a strong belief that communities come first. We are at a pivotal point in our communities where my proven leadership and political contacts throughout the country continue to pay dividends to our residents. Together, we will create an environment where families choose to live, work, and raise a family. No longer is it just about attracting and retaining young professionals to our communities, but more and more we see residents struggle with affordable housing options and putting food on the table. Transfers for mandatory expenditures have skyrocketed. 52.8 cents of every dollar collected is returned to the provincial government. Economic development will play a large role in the next 4 years. We need to continue to build an environment where new and existing businesses can thrive. The last 2 years MODL has experienced unprecedented growth. Prudent fiscal management has allowed us to be debt-free, allowing us to reinvest those interest payments into infrastructure, programs, and services that will benefit our residents for many years to come. Positive things are happening in the municipality. Over $16 million has been awarded for grant dollars this year alone to help us with projects such as the Cookville Wastewater Treatment Facility, floodline mapping, to name a few. We have been able to maintain the tax rate at 81 cents for 14 consecutive years. The property tax rebate, we put another $550,000 into the property tax rebate to make sure that those who need it most are getting those dollars. We continue to create an environment where families choose to live, work, and raise their families, and we will continue to do that.
Thank you both. We're on to the question and answer session of our program, and we will go in the same order that we started. So Elspeth will start. These questions were provided to me to read to them from the Bridgewater and Area Chamber of Commerce, and they have been provided to the candidates prior to this. So let's just rip these up and do another set of questions. No, I'm kidding. So let's start with Elspeth, and the response time is 3 minutes per response. And we will start with question number 1, which is from the NSAR, the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors. Housing attainability is top of mind for Nova Scotians, and everyone deserves a place to call home, whether that's through renting, co-op, home ownership, or other models. So what innovative housing ideas will you implement if elected?
Okay. The housing issue has been a top-of-mind discussion at the doorsteps, and that surprised me when I started doing door-to-door campaigning. But the housing issue is a top across the country, and one that really does need to be addressed. This is a report that was tabled in April of 2023 that talks about the needs of the community, the municipality, the district of Lunenburg around housing. Another report that was tabled this year to Municipal Council outlines the issues around business retention and attraction. And housing, the availability of housing in the business community, they recognize that as a critical need. So as a municipality, if we're not attempting to do something about housing, we're limiting our opportunities for growth, and we're limiting our opportunities for the future that I think we all want to have. The issues around housing, when I looked at these reports and looked at some of the statistics in them, based on the normal building structure that we have now, building permits, which is about 150 units a year, based on the current growth and the current building that's going on, there's going to be a gap of about 450 units by 2027. That's just 2 years away, and we know that there's pressures on the housing situation now. So that, we also know that in the municipality, most of the home ownership is in single-family dwellings. 90% of the home ownership is in that type of dwelling. Much of what is being built are apartments, and that will accommodate a portion of our community, but it isn't the only solution, and it's not. It doesn't meet all the needs that people are looking for. The one thing when I read through these reports, it became very clear, because I looked at where the allocation of funds were, and I remember being at a council meeting earlier this year, and one of the planners made the statement that there was no one in the municipality that was devoted completely to dealing with the housing issue. There's lots going on, but there was nobody that was really working on it as their number one job. If I'm elected as mayor, I will make sure there are resources dedicated to having somebody work on housing issues. And that means dealing with the issues of homelessness, non-market housing, as well as the issues around the need for single-family dwellings and housing for seniors. We need to concentrate our focus on this. This is the single biggest issue, I think, facing us and our development over the next period of time. And it needs to be done in collaboration and cooperation with some of the other municipal units.
Same question. What innovative housing ideas will you implement if elected? Carolyn Bolivar gets it.
Thank you, and I'm going to apologize for sitting down, but unless I go to the podium, I had a knee replacement 5 weeks ago, and I need to sit for these. Eliminating barriers, regulatory barriers, is one of the things that developers have been asking for. So whether or not that's encouraging development in serviced areas, that's one of the things that developers are looking for. They're looking for sewer and they're looking for central water. And those are the things that we're prioritizing for high-density development. What that high-density development does, in turn, is opens up those single-family dwellings throughout the municipality and hopefully some affordable units from there down for people to use the step approach. How many people started off in a smaller home and worked their way up to be where they are today that's here? Not everyone can afford to buy an $800,000 house to start out with. Individuals are challenged to have that deposit money, to have all those things. When we look at the regulatory burden and even streamlining the process so that developers, through e-permitting, for example, or one of the things that we've just recently did was a regional building inspection service. And we have the town of Bridgewater, we have the town of Lunenburg, we have the region of Queens and the municipality all working together to try to bring that so that the services that the developers are looking for are common in all those units. Because developers don't draw those political boundaries that we're talking about, and neither do residents when it comes to housing. They're looking for affordable housing and solutions. Municipal lands, we need to identify in a strategy which ones we can have service with sewer and water. We have New Germany. It doesn't need to be only Osprey Village. We need to look at all the areas that we have central services in and how we can expand around the other towns, such as Mahone Bay, Lunenburg, and Bridgewater. If we need to invest in their infrastructure in order to have that development just on the peripheral of the municipality, then those are things that we should be doing. Affordable housing strategy and grant programs, utilizing municipal lands for this, and making sure that there are incentives there for developers to be able to do this. And I'm glad that we heard about a housing navigator, because an affordable housing navigator was part of our accelerator fund application that we had in there, that was one of the things we thought we needed in order to move housing forward. And that is correct. Now, who that is will happen with the federal government is able to share some funds this way to be able to do that. But eliminating development fees is key.
Now, my job would be easier if there were three, so do we have any nominations from the floor for mayor? So we're going to be going back and forth, so we're going to start this next question number 2, with Carolyn Bolivar gets in reverse order, and we will keep switching back and forth. So hopefully everyone's fine with that, and it's clear as mud. So second question, also from the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors. Nova Scotians are concerned about affordability. So what will you do while on council to help improve housing affordability and the cost of living for residents?
So again, working with developers, seeing a mix of market and non-market housing, with the non-market component being key. The biggest challenges facing not-for-profits is the upfront money that they need to get started. And CMHC has taken the approach with some of our developers that they want to concentrate more on the bigger hubs. And when I say bigger hubs, they're not looking at this area. They're looking at Halifax. They're looking at Toronto. They're looking at Vancouver, the MTV, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver scenarios, and Halifax and the big ones. That's wrong. That's wrong. We need development across this province. We need development in all of our municipalities, all 49 across this province, if we're going to address the housing needs. Our goal is to get affordable housing built. And we need to put the measures in place so developers can do that. We have to make sure that we have the policies and the strategies that allow individuals to want to build in this area. People will come here. We've seen that. We have developers constantly asking about land, asking about areas where they are able to build and what services are available. The property tax rebate, again, I mentioned it in my opening remarks. We have $753,000 in a property tax rebate program. We increased that equivalent to 2 cents of the tax rate this year to put in to a program for those individuals that need it most. I had the opportunity, or an individual came up to me at a recent breakfast, and he said, "Thank you." I said, "What for?" He said, "Without that property tax rebate increase this year," he said, "my house probably would have been facing tax sale." When you hear those things, it's those little things, but it's the big things to individuals that mean so much. So that there, and up to $650 they will be eligible for in a property tax rebate if they have less than an income of $28,560. But we increase those levels to up to $50-some thousand as well for a small prorated. But these are things that mean a lot to seniors and mean a lot to people living or just trying to put food on the table, trying to do these things. So we understand we need housing units. We need all types of housing units. Who in this room ever thought that we would have encampments, people living in RVs, tents, in shelters throughout our municipality? And I can drive you through just about any community, and we will see that. And to me, that's appalling. We shouldn't have to see that. We all need to work together to come up with the solutions necessary so that people do have affordable housing options and a roof over their head.
That is the least offensive buzzer I've ever heard from Timer, which is great. This is wonderful. So same question, and we will repeat it just so it's clear. What will you do while on council to help improve housing affordability and the cost of living for residents? Elspeth McLean-Wall.
Well, I've heard the current mayor speak more about housing and the plans and ideas about what could be done here tonight in the last 5 minutes than I heard attending council over the last 6 months and listening to the proceedings over the previous year. I think, and I'm not disputing the things she's saying, but I think our community would have appreciated hearing what some of those plans were. And I think that's one of the issues that I think is important, that if there are plans and things we can talk about as community, that needs to be communicated back to the residents. Solutions to the housing problem are not simple, and we shouldn't put all the issues in one bucket. There's housing needs for seniors. There's housing needs for those that are unhoused, the homeless. There's those who are low income that need housing. So you need a strategy that really approaches all of those levels of housing needs. And I think we lump it together in a way that I think people aren't really able to grasp sometimes. And I think that there is a role for communities here in talking about what they would like in their community, whether it be New Germany or Riverport or Petite or Blockhouse. Community discussion around what they think is needed and what they can perhaps do in taking some ownership of the housing issue. I've been a big proponent for many years about government getting out of the way sometimes and letting communities take ownership of the problems that they have. And so the ideas around co-op housing, not-for-profit housing, these are important alternatives that start to involve community in discussions around solving problems and not relying completely on developers to come in and decide what kind of housing we should have here. So on the affordability issue on housing, I go back to what I said. We need somebody devoted at the municipality to working on housing and working on those different levels of housing that I spoke of. On the tax rate, there was a proposal earlier this year by 2 of the councillors to offer a rebate to all taxpayers in the municipality, and to offer a rebate, rather than lower the rate, to offer a rebate this year. And so that allows for a recognition that there is an affordability issue, that people should recognize that the one thing the municipality can do is offer a rebate. And that was turned down by the council. I think that was wrong. I think there should have been a recognition of the affordability issues people are feeling now, and I think that was a really good way to do it. Didn't lower the rate, but it gave the flexibility to offer a dividend, and then next year, maybe depending on what projects were planned, the council wouldn't have to raise the rate. So I think that rebate was a really good idea.
We are now at question number 3, and it is about regional cooperation. Regional cooperation vital for addressing shared challenges like infrastructure, public services, and economic development. So how do you plan to strengthen collaboration with the neighboring municipalities and ensure that Modal plays an active role in regional partnerships? Elspeth.
In preparing to run for mayor, I talked to a lot of people. I talked to other municipal leaders. I talked to existing councillors in MODL and councillors from other parts of this community. And one of the things, and I'd heard that, kind of on the street, 38 years of listening to people in a retail operation, you talk about a lot of things, not just about what do I do with my petunias. But politics often came up and issues that people were concerned about. And I often heard from people, and it was reconfirmed in the discussions I had preparing to run, that Modal was hard to work with. And I thought about that, and I thought, well, what does that mean, hard to work with? Well, it came from various angles. And I think that if that is the case, that means that it's difficult if you're viewed, and if the municipality is viewed as hard to work with, it's difficult to collaborate and to cooperate on projects. I don't know all the reasons why it was difficult to work with Modal, but as a leader, it's really important that if you hear that and you sense that, then you start to address what those issues are around being hard to work with. And so I think that would be a high priority for me, elected mayor, was to first of all figure out what are the reasons why Modal is hard to work with. Is it staff? I don't know that. Or is it the nature of the decision makers at the council table? Is it a combination of all that? Or are there other barriers that are getting in the way? But I think good leadership solves problems. And if working together is a problem, then you need to really dig into that and figure out how it is. We have a lot of government in this community. 49,000 people. We have more than 50 elected officials, which is more than the city of Toronto with 3.5 million people. So we need to work together. And if there are barriers, as a leader, you need to work on that and solve that. And we're not going to go anywhere if we don't work together on many of these big projects. Housing, issues of homelessness. They can't be isolated. They can't be put in silos, separated by arbitrary boundaries that are set by the province. Our residents don't see it that way. We need to work together, and we need to eliminate the barriers that may impede our ability to do good work as a community.
The same question. How do you plan to strengthen collaboration with neighboring municipalities and ensure that Modal plays an active role in regional partnerships?
Regional cooperation throughout the municipal units has been going on for many, many, many years, and we continue to build on those strengths. We have the Municipal Joint Services Board, where with the town of Bridgewater, the town of Mahone Bay, we share solid waste collection and disposal. We share HR services, we share IT services, we share a safety and procurement officer. We are looking at procurement now. As services come to us, they're evaluated through the Municipal Joint Services Board. There's other things that I have recommended that move forward into the Municipal Joint Services, but they're not there yet, but believe me, there are things that I would like to see there. We have an agreement with the LCLC, the Lunenburg County Lifestyle Center, which is the town of Bridgewater and the municipality of the District of Lunenburg, in partnership with building that facility. We also have something that we've been working on for many years, and it started out with all the municipal units in, and that's our regional building inspection. We're happy that we just signed that agreement, and we're able to have the town of Bridgewater, the town of Lunenburg, the region of Queens, and the municipality participating in that. Because as I said earlier, developers are looking for commonalities. They don't draw those boundaries. They want to know that if they develop in Bridgewater, it's a national building code, but everybody seems to have a different perspective of what the national building code means. And we hear that from people. And those are things that we strengthen that by putting us all in the same group to be able to do that. And e-permitting, different things that we will be moving forward with. We have our Regional Emergency Management Office, which are all the municipalities in the Lunenburg County that work together on this. And believe me, with climate change and everything that has been happening, we definitely have been sitting at the table throughout our floods last year, throughout the wildfire, and sending fire departments down. Our Emergency Management Coordinator works very diligently. There has gone more money into the budget for those positions because of what's happening with climate change. Economic development. There's an economic development strategy where we're going to be working, and actually they're already sitting down together with the region of Queens, the town of Bridgewater, the District of Chester, different ones on these things. And that is all things that need to happen. So whether that's the bioeconomy development or the opportunity zone, housing initiatives, clean fund projects, these are things that have all been worked around together. And to sit here and say that there's no regional cooperation, shame on you. Because there is. There really is. And I know we want people to believe that, but that is not the case.
That is time. We have prepared questions. There has been an opportunity for you to submit questions. I'm a ratepayer, I'm a taxpayer, I'm a voter. I have one quick follow-up, and it's not on this list, and my apologies for throwing this at you, and it's a one-word answer, a yes or a no. Do you support amalgamation?
Are you asking me?
Yes or no?
No.
That's a no? Do you support amalgamation?
No.
Okay.
I support regional cooperation.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, thanks for indulging me. That's all I get for pay, so that's all I get here. We're on to question number 4. So there are many areas in the municipality of the District of Lunenburg where poor cell phone coverage is an issue. Coverage underwhelming, leading to poor reception, dropped calls for residents, business users, and first responders. So here's the question. As a candidate, how are you going to address these shortcomings if you are elected? And Carolyn Bolivar gets it, please.
Thank you. Do we have poor cell service? Anybody try to connect here?
Normally here it is very poor.
It doesn't matter which end of the district you go in or which direction you leave the towns or wherever you go, there's lousy cell service. One of the things, and I'm glad to see that the province actually has stepped up to the plate, and they've implemented a policy here. They've gone out for 27 new towers right now that have already been awarded. They're looking at, there's another RFP out now for the next phase of those towers to implement. But there needs to be, and there's other ways of doing this too. And it's something that's been floated around our table for many years, and that's, does the municipality build the towers and then charge the Bells, the Eastlinks, the whoever's to be able to use those towers, and it becomes a revenue generator? But those are things that we've been looking at. Another way, this is, and make no mistake, these are things that are provincial jurisdiction and federal. They are not municipal. But no different than the internet, where the municipalities definitely stepped in and stepped up. We were able, with the internet project, to use $2.7 million of municipal money to leverage over $25 million from the federal government, provincial government, and from the private sector. Those are initiatives that we still need to look at here. If we can put money into this to leverage more dollars and more grant money from other levels of government, we should be doing that. And that's where we need to go. And those are opportunities that have been on the table. When we had some of these flash floods and tropical storms, we had fire departments and residents that couldn't call 911. We need to make sure that this gap is filled, and through Lunenburg Regional Fire Service, they've discussed it. We have sent this off to the NSFM, the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. It has become a priority province-wide to do this. This is not a small task, but it's one that definitely has to happen.
We're repeating the question as a candidate. How are you going to address the shortcomings in cell phone coverage if elected?
In the economic strategy of the municipality, cell service is listed here. TBD, to be announced, or to be determined. So this was the economic strategy for 2023 to 2028. So we can say all we like and hear all we like about the priority of cell service for our municipality. It's to be determined in the economic strategy. 27 government-funded towers, 27 towers agreed to with 80% funding from the province. This was in the Build Nova Scotia website. I went to it and looked, and there's not, out of the recent announcements with Rogers, these are the districts where towers will be upgraded or built. Clare, Argyll, Queens, Shelburne, Digby, Annapolis, Yarmouth, and Barrington. Lunenburg County's not listed. Now, maybe it's coming, but my worthy opponent is president or chairman of the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities, which she referred to, and so much for the history of working in politics to get things done. We're not listed anywhere in that. And it's not listed as a priority within the municipality's economic strategy. So you make a judgment on how much of a priority it has been. I think it has to be a priority, and bringing up the internet project and the initiative that was done by the municipality. I remember that because I worked in a community group here that went and made a presentation to municipal council because it wasn't a priority. And Baker Settlement, Newcomville, Wildville, Chelsea, those areas, we collected names and produced a document and went to council and said, we need better broadband service, and it started to happen. So maybe what we need to do here is band together and really identify how bad the cell service is. In Dayspring today, I couldn't use my cell phone. So it's everywhere. So this is something we do need to work on. It needs to be a priority. It's part of how we have a good business environment to work in and to be able to function in. So it needs to be a priority, and I would make it a priority.
Thank you. We're almost through the first part of tonight. We have question number 5. We've heard many concerns about limited transit service in our area, and there is an urgency to improve the bus service in Lunenburg County to connect the towns and outlying areas such as Osprey Ridge, making it safer and more convenient for residents to shop and to get to jobs. So, the question as presented, if elected, how do you plan to put this in place? Elsewhere.
Another study was presented this spring in, I'm not sure if it was late March, early April, that looked at how we could provide a bus service in the municipality. And I read through it, looked at it. I think it was a really, really well documented and I thought the options were really good that were presented. And it looked at how you build out a service, because the town of Bridgewater already has a service. And so you start to look at how you build it out to the most densely populated areas within the community, which would be Wildville, Hebville, and Osprey Village, which is obviously just surrounding the town. The option that I thought made most sense, and it's all about collaboration and cooperation, would be that we work collaboratively with the town of Bridgewater to figure out how we could build on to the service that's already provided. And then we work with Lunenburg County Wheels, which is providing a tremendous volunteer service to feed in the outlying areas that Lunenburg County Wheels is already servicing and tie that into the bus system. This needs to be seamless for the users so that the ticketing system, we'd have to come to some agreement on how that could all work. I think that doesn't seem like a major barrier. And figure out how the timing and the bus stops and all that can work together. I think the important part is that for the user, it needs to be seamless, as I've said, either in the ticketing and in the connections and making sure that it does work for people in terms of the time that they have to wait and the delivery times to the various places they want to go. I thought the report was well done. It got tabled, it got presented to council. I don't know where it is in council. I hope that some discussion is going on, but I've attended the meetings, listened to everything, and I've heard nothing since. Obviously, it will take money. And I think we need to recognize that public transit is an investment in our community. It should not be considered an expense. It's part of how we develop a community that serves all people. Those who don't have cars, choose not to have cars, can no longer drive, have accessibility issues, and all of those together are reasons why we need a good public transit. And for our young people who want to get to various activities, maybe don't have cars or parents working and can't drive them, this is all part of it. So I think we have the basis for a good start on this, but it needs to get off the report stage and into action, and I'd be very committed to working on that.
So the question is about transit. If elected, how do you plan to put this in place?
So we plan on continuing with the plan that we have in action now. We have been working with different transit providers. We do have the 5-year transit review and study that we have here. And yes, it's a very good read, and there's a lot of things in here. And we have a committee that meets regularly on transit. That committee looks at all the proposals that have been coming forward. Most of you would have been familiar with Senior Wheels. Senior Wheels has rolled over into Lunenburg County Wheels. And it is there for everyone. It is a dial-a-ride right now, which means that you have to book your ride to do that. The municipality has been subsidizing that to keep the cost down. One of the things that I would like to see is that that rate is $5 regardless where you live. We talk about the hub around the town of Bridgewater, but what about the people in Franny's Corner and Blue Rocks and everywhere else? We need those people to be serviced as well. And council represents the whole municipality, not just the hub. We represent that whole area. So when you look at Italy Cross, and you look at Dayspring, and you look at Baker Settlement, or whichever direction you want to go to Martins River, these are areas that people all deserve to have the same services. We recognize our business community in Osprey Village has reached out to us for a designated route, and we are working with that. We're exploring options to see if a designated van, a designated whatever, would work there. But to increase the service within just the hub area right now before we increase that ridership for everyone doesn't make a lot of sense. So when we look at, again, the ridership and the numbers, and I'm looking forward to the presentation that's coming back on Lunenburg County Wheels, because those numbers have skyrocketed. It is unbelievable how much that has increased since they have those 4 accessible vans on the road. And you see people using them, whether they're coming to a recreation program, whether they're going to a doctor's appointment or wherever they're going just to recreate. Some people tell me they just want to get on the bus and just get out of their house and do that. And that's okay, because if that's what it means to recreate for them and to be social and be able to get out, then that's important. And again, regardless where you live, you should have access to that. But designated routes throughout Franny's Corner and Blue Rocks and those are a long ways away. I'm not going to tell you they're not. But the service is there for those that need it and those that don't want to have a car anymore. So they're there, and those that aren't able to drive. There's a lot of people that can't drive.
Thank you. Shameless plug, don't forget Hebb's Cross. Sorry, I'm the chief of the fire department there. Question number 6, this one's layered. This one has several questions, so it's kind of a perfect question for me because I think you can pick which part of it you want to answer. So this is question number 6. In your view, what role, and please bear with me till I'm finished, in what role should the municipality play in driving economic development? Could you highlight specific initiatives to the municipality, initiatives that the municipality has undertaken, or ideas you have to foster entrepreneurship, attract venture capital, and support the growth of key economic sectors? What strategies would you prioritize to ensure long-term sustainable economic growth for the region? It's a long question, but considering this is a Chamber of Commerce event, it makes perfect sense that it's going to give you a chance to answer how you choose. So, what strategies would you prioritize to ensure long-term sustainable economic growth for the region? And Carolyn Bolivar gets to start, please.
So May 2nd, 2023, the municipality has their economic development strategy plan that will lead the municipality through to 2028. Within that plan, there are 6 directions. Promote the development of Osprey Village and surrounding area, and that comes down to that dense population where you can put high-rise, or not high-rises, 4 or 5 stories high in our municipality, but where you can put that dense population and you have those central services to provide it. Diversity and grow the local economy. Focus on investment readiness and attraction and what that actually means with policies and so on moving forward. Workforce development. Every employer out there is starving for employees right now, whether that's the big Michelins or whether that's the Tim Hortons, whether that's the Christmas tree sector, whether that's whatever sector right now. We need people. We need people. Affordable housing and support the agricultural sector. Those are the 6 strategic priorities that was outlined in here. But when we talk about some of these things and we talk about investing in infrastructure, we also need to have attractive tax rates. We need to have things in place. We need to lay the groundwork for developers and for people to want to invest in our community. For-profit entities, we cannot provide dollars for. So we cannot give them that. Not-for-profit entities, yes. But unless CMHC is willing to come to the table and invest in rural Nova Scotia, we have a problem. We have a big problem. CMHC needs to recognize that rural Nova Scotia exists, and communities like Newcomville and Dayspring and everywhere else needs housing. So when I look at this and I look at the economic growth for the region, we need to attract and retain individuals to our area by having the infrastructure and things in place to make them want to come here. We have the businesses, but we want more. When we look at the unprecedented growth that we have right now in the municipality and in the commercial sector alone, we've seen more growth in the last 2 years than what we've seen in the last 20 with commercial growth. And that's still coming. That's coming. Those are things that we meet with developers, we meet with people wanting to expand into our area. And our area is broad. And there are people that, because of, we talk about the internet project. Yes, the internet project was instrumental in allowing people to move here, work from home, create that environment. We told them about our secret and people came here, but that created a housing crunch.
That is time. Thank you. And again, the candidates were provided with the questions in advance, so I'm sure that some of what is here has been thought about before the question was presented here tonight. Elspeth, what strategies would you prioritize to ensure long-term sustainable economic growth for the region?
Well, as a business owner and farmer of 38 years, I do have some thoughts on economic development and what the role of government should be. And I've long been a proponent of governments needing to create the right framework for business to thrive. And I think that's a general statement that many business owners in this room would agree with. And that means that the barriers to establishing business and operating businesses need to be eliminated or reduced as much as possible. But already we've talked about some of the issues around the environment in which business is operating that are barriers, and cell service we've already talked about. That's one that needs to be addressed. The issues of housing, and I already mentioned, and Carolyn's already mentioned, the economic strategy and identifying that when the survey was done of business retention and attraction, that survey identified housing as the second most important issue behind the availability of health care and medical services within our community as issues affecting their ability to attract labor and to expand their business operations. So I think those two things we've already talked about. The other thing that I think is really a really big issue, and this needs all of us working together, is the issues around labor market, our labor market here for skilled and unskilled workers. And I think that the municipality can play a role in helping to bring the parties together, like the Bridgewater and Area Chamber of Commerce, the other boards of trade and chambers of commerce throughout the municipality, along with the economic development officers, should be working together on a labor market strategy here and identifying what are the needs, how can we do it, how can we access some of the government programming around how we bring workers here, how we settle them well. We've got some great examples in our community, the MacLeod group in Mahone Bay with the work they're doing with bringing in workers, and also hiring Tina Henniger to work in settlement services. I've worked with Tina for many years in now Lunenburg County. So as a business community, saying we need labor, we have to invest in that as well. And I think the municipality can play a big role in helping to bring all the parties together and work with the economic development officers to see how we can address the labor market issues that we're facing. So I still am a firm believer in keep government out of business, create the right environment, businesses will thrive.
And thank you again. We're up to number 7, the 7th question of 7. And this is a conversation I've had with several people in this room who shall remain nameless until after you hear the question. Term limits are often described as a way to encourage fresh perspectives and new leadership. In the municipality of the District of Lunenburg, we've seen long-serving councillors, including one who served 50 years. So what are your thoughts on implementing term limits for municipal politicians, and how do you balance the value of experience with the need for new ideas and leadership? Elspeth.
We elect MLAs and MPs to positions that are dealing with issues of provincial and national importance, and they may not have any political experience. Often they don't. And this question has come up. Actually, I've had it posed to me a number of times because I'm the newbie. I have no political experience, at least at what might be viewed here as a political experience, although I've been in agricultural politics for 30 years, and that can be pretty challenging as well. So the issue about the balance between experience and bringing fresh ideas, this has come up at the door. I've heard an amazing number of people say that it's time for change. And whether that's a determination that people have stayed long enough, I'm not sure how to read into that, but that has been a common theme. And I think that we're seeing it both from the U.S., because they have a system set for terms of office there. We're also seeing it, I think, somewhere out in some of our other political venues, at not the provincial, but at the federal level. So I think population is beginning that politicians do have a shelf life. And whether that's 2 terms, that's 8 years. To me, I think 8 years is a long enough time to have really had a chance to table new ideas and see them started and see them launched in a way that then you can bring in some fresh blood and some new ideas. Now that's easy for me to say because I'm on that side. I'm the newbie. I'm the one that's seeking an opportunity to serve. But I do come with a fresh approach. I do come with a different perspective. I am very grounded in the community and am very, very committed to getting back to good conversation at the community level, at engaging more in reporting on the activities of council, what the ideas are, and how that may impact on people, and what people are thinking about some of those choices that council is making. And I think that municipal government, it's the government closest to people. So we need to have a really good working relationship. So yes, I believe there should be term limits. It is time for change, just like so many of the people at the doors have told me.
To the same question, your thoughts on implementing term limits for municipal politicians, and how do you balance the value of experience with the need for new ideas and leadership, Carolyn?
Well, thank you for the question. So, democracy is a wonderful word, and the people should decide that. The people should decide who is elected. Not a set term, but the people. Each and every one of you should decide who is elected in the next municipal election. One of the things that we talk about, there's individuals with 20 years, there's individuals with 24 years, there's individuals, yes, there was a councillor that had over 50 years. But I can tell you, the institutional knowledge that that individual had was something that you can't replace. When you look at in the last municipal election, we had 7 new councillors. 7 new councillors. If all that knowledge was to walk out the door in this municipal election, you would have a struggle to keep things moving in the direction and have that background information, have those connections, have that. What business condemns you for working for 8 years? If anything, it's about recruitment and retention. It's about having those people that you definitely has that knowledge, has those connections, can move your agenda forward. And that's what I possess. I do have that knowledge. I do have those connections, provincially, federally, throughout the municipality. I said, I can sit down at anyone's kitchen table and feel comfortable. And I don't care if it's a $2,000 trailer or if it's a multi-million-dollar house. And I think those things are important. I think they're very important. Treating people with respect is very important. But to tell somebody that you can't run anymore because you've already served 8 years, Mayor Mitchell, you're finished. And when I look at the knowledge, again, that people possess and how that all comes together, people all have an opportunity. New councillors learn from those that were there before. And they have that opportunity to ask the questions. I sat down with every one of the councillors when they were elected. And I asked each and every one of them what they heard on the doorstep, what ideas they wanted to bring forward. And a lot of those things came forward, and they were implemented. And that's what it's about. It's about bringing that. As far as being stalemated, I don't think I'm stale at 60 years old, but maybe I am. I don't know. But I think I've got a lot of years left in me, and we'll find out. But I definitely am here to represent the people, and it's up to the people to decide that.
Thus concludes this part of the agenda, this part of the program. We've had an opportunity to take questions from you in the door. How's everybody doing? It's been an hour. You've all been sitting. I see a few fidgeters. How about just for 1 second, if you all want to just stand up, please. Stand up. Stand up and testify to the power of democracy in action. This is all about a wonderful opportunity to share comments and a connection. Just maybe say hello to the person behind you. They may have a different lawn sign than you, but they all are looking for the same thing, which is a strong community. All right, thank you for that. I know you guys are anxious to hear what the other folks in the room had to ask our two candidates. Again, 23 people have put their name on the ballot for this upcoming municipal election in MODL. That's an amazing show of dedication, because you know there will have to be people who come first and second, and there is no silver in politics. That was going to be a podcast I was going to do once. So, questions as presented to me, and I'm reading for the first time. Okay, there's a general agreement that climate change will affect all of us. What do you think will be the biggest impact of climate change in Modal, and what should be our municipal government's highest priority to mitigate the negative effects? 2 minutes for your response, and we're timing. And who wants to take this first? Carolyn? Sure.
I got to remember what all the question was there. The effects of climate change, it's real. For those of you who don't think climate change is real, I guess turn your TV on tonight when you go home and look at what's happening south of the border, because it's real. And just because our temperatures are a little colder right now, we're not feeling that full effect of what's happening south of us. But Nova Scotia, it has been the dumping ground for just about every storm and every event. They used to be 1 in 50 year and 1 in 100 year storms, and that's what people planned for. But when you look at, I said when I grew up, and I grew up here all my life, I heard the old people talk about Hurricane Edna back in the 50s, and how it went through and it tore down the trees and it did whatever. Well, I never heard about a hurricane or anything until Hurricane Juan, and that was 50 years later. And now, when I talk to my grandchildren and we talk about hurricanes and we talk about these things, they're annual events. We have an active hurricane season. When you look at what happened in Hammond's Plains and what happened in Shelburne with the wildfires, and how detrimental that was to everyone, over that 200 homes destroyed, think about that. The flood on July 21st of last year, over 300 millimeters of rain in less than 24 hours. When you look at these things, we have a climate action plan. We have a community part and we have an MODL or a corporate part. We're working to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. We introduced the coastal protection, not to be mean, not to tell people what they could do and not do, to try to protect people from the coast. When you look at the last flood and the last tropical storm, Green Bay, the road washed out. How much armor rock do you see being delivered along the shorelines to reinforce what's happening?
And that is time. My math says 2 minutes is 1 minute shorter than the other answers, so this is going to have to tighten things up a little bit. So what should be our municipal government's highest priority to mitigate the negative effects of climate change, Elspeth?
Well, I think we have to recognize where emissions come from, and car emissions and emissions from home heating are the two things that probably we think about, and if you look at the figures, are the sources. And really, from a municipal point of view, those are difficult for us in a rural community to control. But there are things that we can put in place, and we need a good emergency measures organization here and regional cooperation around that to make sure that if we do have disaster, we have a well-established and a good system for how we work with all the providers that can provide emergency services. And that's well within the control of the municipality. The second thing would be around planning. And Carolyn has mentioned the Coastal Protection Act regulations that were brought in. But in developing a further planning strategy that will happen over the next number of years, we need to think about our other waterways, because the coastal protection regulations only cover to the mouth of the major rivers that go through Lunenburg County, the LaHave, the Petite, and the Gold River. So those rivers, once you start going up the river, then you need to think about what all that water that's running off, where is it going, and how do we protect the people and the rivers and lakes themselves from the kinds of weather changes that we're getting with large amounts of moisture and serious flooding. So those are things that you build into a planning strategy that then reflect the kinds of development and where those are located, the kinds of buffers you put in place around waterways. Those are well within the purview of the municipality to do and to manage, and I think those are good conversations that have to be held, again, with the community, so that there's a good understanding of why we would, as a municipality, want those strategies in place.
Thank you. Our next question, and I know the answer will not be amalgamation. And I had nothing to do with this question other than pulling it out of the box. Presently, Modal cooperates with other municipal units in the county in such things as library and waste collection. Do you see other areas where cooperation is possible and should be pursued? Elspeth, please, to start.
I think I already referred to economic development and an economic strategy for the region. I think that it's one county with 49,000 people. We should all be working together as municipal units to have a strategy for our community. And I don't believe we have that in a structured way that really reflects what is possible. The second area I think that there could be more cooperation in is in the parks and recreation area. And I think Modal has an amazing parks system and an amazing recreation program. But I think we're seeing within our municipal units lots of duplication of programming, that we could start to see who could specialize in certain aspects of programming and deliver programming across all the municipal units. That seems to be something that would be a good step as well.
Thank you. Carolyn, same question.
Do I feel the citizens would benefit from amalgamation? No, I do not.
No, sorry. That was my part of the question, but I know you weren't going to say amalgamation.
Right.
So the question is, do you see other areas outside of library and waste collection where there could be more cooperation?
Yes, I do. And those are the services that I spoke about earlier. Like I said, HR, IT, safety coordinators, solid waste site. We're looking at procurement now as one of those opportunities to bring that in. When we talk about recreation, we already have Connect Direct. Connect Direct is a centralized service that we actually moved to the LCLC so that we could streamline our programming and things into there. The one thing we want to make sure of is that we don't centralize our programming in one area and that they're only in the hubs. We want to make sure that that mussel bake in Petite Riviere continues to happen, that corn boil up in Maplewood continues to happen, that ice cream social in Newcomville continues to happen. These are things that are definitely important. But when it comes to streamlining the registration, how money's collected, the programming when they come to day camps and all these things, those are things that we've already looked at and have brought together through the LCLC to make sure that there isn't duplication of these services. So it's very important when you look at those things that does happen. So again, yes, there's always room for move forward with cooperation on these things. We're doing the regional building inspection, the REMO, all these things are already in place, but there will be more. And as they come forward and they make sense, there needs to be financial and benefit to the units. And that's what's explored before we put a service forward. Does it make sense to do this on your own? Do you need a 100% person doing this? Or does it make sense to spread that out and do it within whichever units will come inside? And it's one thing to say, yes, everybody should do it, but not all the units want to as well. So there has to be that cooperation from the outside in as well.
Thank you. So this next question is from the audience, very specific one, and I hope that it makes sense to you. I will try to do my best to read what's here. Access to Sherbrooke Lake was disputed for years. Land was finally purchased. Money was put aside for development of a park. 8 years later, we still have nothing. The question here is why? Carolyn, I guess just by nature.
Love to take that question.
Okay.
So the municipality has purchased many parcels of land as they become available. We are concentrating right now, one of our strategic priorities in the municipality is to recreate parks. And by recreating parks, what we seen during COVID was that our parks were not up to a standard that we really wanted to see them at. They had been neglected. So our emphasis has been on making sure that they're accessible, and whether that's the new stairway that was just put at Indian Falls, or whether or not that's the new washrooms that are going in at Mush Beach. And Mush Beach sees over 300 users in a day. So these are things, picnic tables, having those accessible spots for people to get in. We just did a Saw Pit Wharf strategic plan, or the community did, that just came back to council this week with their recommendations in that. Those are all things that we need to look at. But Sherbrooke Lake will be developed, but not before we maintain the parks that we currently have. It's like the roads. And if you don't maintain what you have and you keep building them, you see what happens. You see what happens, whether that's a dirt road or a paved road or whatever. You need to maintain the infrastructure that you have, and you need to have the capacity to be able to do that. So when we look at doing the strategic plans, and we went out and evaluated all of our parks, and we looked at them, and not every park is going to be a level 1 with all the accessible features and everything. Some will be those walking paths and whatever. We have over 100 acres with River Ridge Common alone. And when you look at some of these parks, like these aren't small. The Mark, we're looking at doing a reimagine to the Mark here in Dayspring, and what that will look like for future years and generations to come.
And that's time. So, Elspeth, in fairness, I guess a why would be a difficult question for you to answer, but in that general response to what you heard from Carolyn Bolivar-Getson.
Well, Sherbrooke Lake was an issue when Don Down was mayor. And it was an issue about the community and access to the lake. And it wasn't resolved then. And I feel it's been kicked down the road through 2 terms now. And it recently came up at council because the community committee of Sherbrooke Lake that was monitoring water quality, their term for their work ended. And the question came up, all the work in collecting the monitoring of bacteria in the lake, the impact of development around the lake on the quality of the water, that provided a baseline to monitor that lake, a baseline of information. And this came to council, and the request was from the committee to look at should it continue, and should it be in partnership with Chester. I think the mayor has avoided really answering the question. There is nothing in the budget, I looked in the capital budget, there's nothing in the budget to do anything with Sherbrooke Lake. She can say all she likes about the development of other parks, and that may be true. I think it is good. I think that was a good decision to do that. But the issues around Sherbrooke Lake have not been resolved.
Thank you. Our next question that was submitted, a pretty contentious one in a lot of ways. So what is the future of Airbnbs? I guess the question really is, if they are to become extinct, then what is the future of tourism accommodations and those businesses that rely on them? That would be the tourists. And that was a submitted question. And Elspeth, would you please start off with an answer?
Well, I did speak with a number of Airbnb owners in during my campaigning so far. The province has brought in regulations, as I understand, are effective the 1st of September. And from talking to one of the building inspectors, some units that were built and used don't meet the code requirements around having an Airbnb. People are choosing to, because of the costs and the upgrades that may be necessary, to get out of the Airbnb business. So there's lots of issues around that, but that's a provincial issue. The issue that was raised with me was around the marketing levy that was proposed by the municipality, and I only heard one in the last number of months, one conversation about that marketing levy, and it would apply to hotel rooms and Airbnbs and would create a pot of money, a budget of money that would be then used to promote tourism in the area. That went underground. I don't know what happened, but the discussion around the marketing levy is, I haven't heard anything more about it at council. So I think for the Airbnb, and this was raised with me because it was another tax really for the Airbnb owners. And I think I don't have a good answer for how to deal with Airbnbs. I looked at in the report on housing, there's somewhere estimated to be 250 to 275, and those were 2022 numbers. I expect the number is higher than that now. Someone has said over 300, but I don't know that. So we know that it is an issue, that there are a lot of accommodations here. I've gone down lots of roads and wondered, is that an Airbnb? I talked to people in one today, so that were the guests. So we know that they're out there, and what its impact is on our housing situation, I don't have any way to know that. I don't have a good answer.
That is time. Carolyn, your response to the question.
Do you want to read the question?
I will read the question. What is the future of Airbnbs? The question being, if they are to become extinct, then what is the future of tourism accommodations and those businesses that rely on them?
I do not think they're going to become extinct by a long shot. I think that they do serve a purpose in our communities. How many people here have ever rented an Airbnb? Oh, I think there's more than that. One of the things that is instrumental here when you look at this, and the province has introduced regulations, and they have asked Airbnbs to register. Right now, we have over 200 registered in the municipality of the District of Lunenburg that has come forward and registered. So yes, there's probably double that plus is what we have. And I guess if they're not meeting the code from the building inspectors, should they be an Airbnb? I question that, because I definitely hope that the Airbnb, if I rent one, and I have rented one. I rent them with my family when we go skiing. I rent them when we go to PEI sometimes in the summer, because it makes more sense to the family to be in one unit. So I think they do serve a purpose from that, whether it's hockey tournaments, whatever, where people get together and go somewhere. But they do serve a purpose. The marketing levy was raised, and that was another area of regional cooperation, because it was the town of Bridgewater, the town of Lunenburg, the town of Mahone Bay, the district of Chester, the region of Queens, and the municipality of the district of Lunenburg. We used to have a committee, Lunenburg County Events, that was trying to entice things into Lunenburg County and into the area, and how we could do that and where the dollars would come from. The municipalities had been putting it up. Was there a way? How many people, when they book a hotel room, you say, I'm not staying there because they have a marketing levy? Because just about every hotel that you're staying in now probably has a marketing levy, has that tax on it. So this isn't intended to be a tax to hurt the hotel operators or the Airbnbs. It's to bring more things here so there's more room nights booked out. That's what it's intended for.
And that is time. So in order for us to time out to exactly 8:30, that means one more question, and I think this is an amazing question. Whoever submitted it, thank you. I would have come up with one probably not as good, but that's not a money-back guarantee. It says here I was supposed to be engaging. Sorry. So final question, what is one quality that your opponent has that makes her better qualified for the position of mayor than yourself? And how can you meet that challenge? And Carolyn, may you be the first to lead off with this question.
Well, I believe I answered this question on Monday night, or one similar to it.
You didn't answer it.
And yeah, I did answer it. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know.
You mean you've known Elspeth for that many years and you can't tell one?
I know her as a retailer, and I know her as a business owner. And as far as working with her side by side, no, I've never did that. I've been involved in a lot of community organizations. I've been involved in a lot of volunteer things. I've been involved in many different sectors. But as far as working side by side with Elspeth, I don't know. So as far as I know my own leadership qualities, I know what I'm capable of. But as far as knowing that, it would be wrong for me to say. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Elspeth, same question. What is one quality your opponent has that makes her better qualified for the position of mayor than yourself, and how can you meet that challenge?
Well, Carolyn's clearly a seasoned politician. There's absolutely no question in my mind about that. She has served our community as a councillor, as an MLA, as a cabinet minister, and as mayor. And I don't have any of that. And I respect the contribution she's made to the community, and I admire her dedication to the community.
We are just about out of time, so we have our final closing statements, which are 3 minutes in duration, and according to the coin toss that we started off with, the closing statements will be coming from Carolyn after we hear first from Elizabeth, or from Elspeth. I know you've heard that before, but I'm not going to say it.
I even have a television
You do have a television program now. Elspeth MacLeod. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for your attendance tonight and this opportunity. I have to say, it's a little. I'm relieved. It's over. I won't dispute that for a minute. Not that I was afraid of this, but we have to think on our feet, and we have to be responsive, and I appreciate that we've had that opportunity together to do it. Tonight it will be your decision about how you're going to vote, and I asked you at the beginning to not focus so much on the issues, because clearly my opponent has much more depth on the issues and the history of the decisions that have been made than I have or I could ever have at this point in my career. I am just someone who thinks that they can help serve the community and offer leadership in leading this community. Good leaders have a vision for the future, and I see many opportunity for us to be the best place in Nova Scotia to live. I'm not afraid to be bold in tabling new ideas, and I think those of you who know me know that now Lunenburg County was a big idea about asking people to move here in 2014. And I went across the country and I worked with Tina Henniger and invited people, total strangers, to come here and live. That was terrifying, but I wasn't, it was a big idea. And I'm not afraid to challenge the status quo. And I think a good leader needs to do that. I know how to work with people. I know how to work hard. And I have a demonstrated ability to bring people together to work on new ideas. My approach is one built on the principles of listening carefully, collaborating, and cooperating. As your leader, I commit to honest, open discussion at all levels. I believe I've demonstrated these qualities in my business life and in my volunteer work. And if you believe it's time for progressive change under new leadership, I ask for your support on October 19th.
Carolyn, I'll invite you up for your 3-minute closing statement.
So as mayor, I will continue to make life affordable for our residents, maintaining stable tax rates, offering grants to individuals, nonprofit and charitable organizations, and investing in the property tax rebate. One of the things we've been able to do and will continue to do is remove financial barriers to recreational and cultural activities for children, youth, and adults through ProKids and through our new ProFund program. Provide strong fiscal management. We have a 5-year financial strategy. We have been able to be debt-free, but there are challenges, and we know that. But we will continue to work to access whatever grants, whatever dollars are out there to keep the tax rate affordable in the municipality. Affordable housing. We need to all, I said it earlier, work together towards these solutions. But we need to create that environment for them. But foster an environment for environmental and commercial development for economic growth throughout a 5-year economic plan. Support our local climate action plan by investing in public transportation, providing financing for energy efficiency retrofits and dry well replacement programs. Work with our municipal neighbors on regional projects such as accessibility, anti-racism and inclusion, solid waste, and whatever comes next. We need to do that. We all need to work together. Together we can make a difference, and together we will make a difference. On October 19th, I ask for your vote for mayor for the municipality of the District of Lunenburg. And today I ask that once again. Thank you.
Well, there we have it. So now we're on to the scoring portion of the night. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'll give 1,000,000 points because you didn't use all your time every single question. So 1,000,000 points for both candidates. I want to thank the Bridgewater Area Chamber of Commerce for inviting me here. I want to thank the Fire Hall for hosting this event as well. We had a couple of first-time voters here. Where are they? If they could stand up, please. The first-time voters. People who have not voted yet. 1, 2. Awesome. A couple in the back. In this municipality. That's fair enough. Well, thank you all. Thank everybody for coming here tonight. I will be asking the tough questions of whomever wins on October. Don't forget to vote. You can start voting online tomorrow on the phone. I know it's a lot to ask for you to pay attention and be here throughout. So drive safe on your way home. Thank you again for the invitation. Be well. This will be streamed at a point later on. Watch the social medias for the details at the Bridgewater Chamber website. Thanks again.